money. And so we never lost money. And in the second company, we were venture capital funded, and we had so much money that we never made money because we were always growing faster than what than the money that we were making. And in the third company, the goal was to do profitable recurring revenue. So now let's look at the exits. In the first company, I took it public and for a $400 million valuation. And here is a company that did not take even $1 million of funding from anybody. So the founders, 4 of us, 3 Chinese and 1 Indian, we owned everything. So everybody did incredibly well from a financial standpoint. In the second company, all these VCs had invested, and we had become a major platform for doing business. All the biggest companies were using our product. As a consequence, we had a $5 billion exit, which is $5,000 million, which even when you convert to rupees, you're looking at 30,000 crore business was our exit. And we did that in 5 years. We went from 0 to 30,000 crores in 5 years. And with the third company, the VCs decided that we really want to sell the platform. We don't want to run the business because recurring revenue is a very slow growth. So you can see that startups can have very different consequences or endpoints, and you're going to see, as I explain, as we go through the case studies, all kinds of differences between these companies. However, the companies might be different, the technology might be different, the people might be different, the financing might be different, but the entrepreneurial strategies are the same. And because that doesn't change, how you succeed in business will not change. Whether it's in India, small company, or whether it is a global giant, the strategies are going to be the same. And I want to, if they're entrepreneurial in nature, are going to be the same. So let me kind of go through the 8 key entrepreneurial strategies that are a must for any startup. And then I'm going to explain how I use these same strategies in different situations in the companies that I ran in order to make the difference and create such successful businesses. First one is responsive to market. Everybody can have a vision of what's good and not. But important thing is checking with the person who's going to use the product, whether it serves the need or not. Are you going to use the product? That's the key. So you have to be responsive to the market. If the market says that, it's a great product, but really I need this additional feature, you better be the first to listen to it and jump on it and get it done. So being responsive to the market, no second question about it, have to do it. Second thing is fast product development. You have to have a team from the person who figures out what has to be done, to the engineers who do it, to the manufacturing and production that gets the product out, to the salesman who sells it, to providing the customer support. You have to be a fast company. Speed is the essence of succeeding for an entrepreneurial company. And I'm going to show you how, with speed, you can beat the biggest companies, right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. Next thing is, the people who are going to be probably very smart, etc., are probably going to be the founders. But if only the founders in the company are smart, you're not going to go very far. Because 2, 3, 4 founders cannot be everywhere at the same time. In order for you to grow and become a big, successful company, you have to delegate. Which means you've got to give other people the responsibility to execute the business plan and so on. And then you've got to trust them to execute the right thing. Obviously, you've got to monitor them. Obviously, you've got to supervise them. Obviously, you've got to correct them if they're making mistakes. But without great teamwork and trusting and delegation, you will never be able to scale your business. Next one is incredibly important. It's all about winning. The entrepreneurial success is all about winning. It's not about friendship. It's not about being nice to the next person. It's about winning. And probably the master who taught how to win is this Chinese general called Sun Tzu, and he wrote this book called The Art of War. If you go to any of the airport bookstores in the business section, you'll see The Art of War. I think this is a must for every human being if you're going to be in business, to read this book. Only 30, 40 pages, but priceless in its wisdom. And obviously, he wrote this book 2,000 years ago. But the wisdom and the nuggets of insight that he picked up into how to compete are relevant even now. And business requires you to use these nuggets. And I'll be talking about how Sun Tzu's Art of War can be used. For example, I'll give you a quick example. One of the things that he says is, if you never want to lose a battle, then, because he was basically the general for a small kingdom in the middle of China, and they were always fighting with each other. And since they were always fighting, basically he had to train his army never to lose a battle. So what he said is, if you never want to lose a battle, and you're the general, you take your army across the river, line them up along the river banks with their backs to the river, and then burn the boats. And then that army that is lined up with the backs to the river will never lose the battle. Anybody knows why? Because you're going to die either way. You can either die trying to fight the other army, or you can die by falling into the water. So basically, you're going to have to fight to survive. And that's why that army, which has its back to the river, is never going to lose a battle. And we see that in real life, right? Has Israel ever lost a battle? Because the day they lose a battle, there is no more Israel. And that's why they can beat armies that are 10 times bigger, have 10 times the number of planes and ships and weapons and so on, but they always win, because an army that is determined and focused, and every person wants to win, if everyone is so powered up, it can beat any big army. So now you have to use that principle in business, and you're going to hear about how I used this principle in business in terms of winning the competition. The next one is, as an entrepreneur, you're starting off with very few resources, very few salespeople, very little money, very little technology relative to the big giants that you're going to take on. So obviously, your first sale that you go after to compete, you're going to lose. Second sale you go after, you're going to lose. Third sale you're going to go after, you lose. If after 2 or 3 sales, if you're just disheartened and give up, then you've lost the war. But if after every time you lose the order, you say, why did I lose it? I should improve customer support. I should improve a feature. I should improve performance. I should reduce the cost. But if you learn as to why you lost that order, the next time you compete, you're going to be better. Next time you compete, you'll be even better. Till finally, you'll end up with a product and a team that'll just keep continuously winning, and now you're on your way to building a great company. So it's okay to lose the battle, but not the war. Which means you do not get demoralized, or your team gets demoralized by the war. Sixth point is what's called personalize your customer relationship. no product is perfect. Customers will have problems when you ship a product. It doesn't matter what. The question is, will the customer give you a chance to fix it so that it does what it's supposed to do? And personalizing relationship is how you get the opportunity to buy time to go ahead and get the job, get the product fixed. So essentially, you personalize your relationship so that you get a chance to fix the product. And I'll talk about how that is used. Next thing is total transparency. The thing that affects the productivity of your people is not knowing what's going on with your fellow employees, with the company, with the business. Those kinds of worries is what affects the productivity of the company. People feel that, oh, he got a raise because he's friends with this person, or he got, a promotion because of this reason. All of that hurts the productivity of these people. And the whole idea is that without a totally transparent company, you will not be able to get funding, you will not be able to get risk capital, your people will not be productive, and it really affects the success or chance of success of your company. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is learning, which is the thing that separated. When I was driving today on one of the roads, I saw some monkeys sitting on a wall. And I think the ancestors of those monkeys 50 million years ago were probably doing the same thing. Human beings were just like monkeys 50 years ago. But 50 million years later, human beings are listening to a lecture. They're becoming smarter because they're learning from another experienced person. So human beings are different than almost all other animals in the world because we learn. It is our ability to continuously improve ourselves that enables us to be successful. We are successful in getting to the top of the pyramid in terms of the evolutionary pyramid, but we can also get to the top of the business world, or the top of the political world, or the top of the economic world by learning continuously all our life. Anyway, so enough of principles. So let's go back and go in and apply these principles. So here is Opti, which in 5 years became the world's largest chipset company. We had no money, we had no technology, we did not have a fab for manufacturing, so no manufacturing, no technology, no money, but we had a vision of building a great semiconductor company. And who are our competitors? Companies like Intel, Chips and Technologies, which Texas Instruments, VLSI Technology. And these are all massive public companies with thousands of engineers, thousands of manufacturing plants, billions of dollars cash sitting in their account. That was our competition. And here are 4 people wanting to become a leader in one segment of the semiconductor business. Give it 5 years, and we did become the leader. We shipped 25 million chipsets, which means 1 out of every 4 computers was based on our chips. The world's biggest companies became our customers. IBM, NEC, Compaq, Hewlett-Packard, Dell, everybody became our customers. We had revenues of $170 million, very profitable. And we took the company public for $400 million. And this was a company that started with less than $1 million 5 years back. So how did we do it? So you guys remember the 8 principles. So one of the principles was speed, right? How fast you can develop your product. Now, who has got more computers and computing capability than all of these companies that have all this money, right? Who's got more engineers to go ahead and build these chips? obviously they've got. So obviously they can work as fast as my engineers can work. I've got 10, 20 engineers, and they've got 100 engineers who put on the project. So basically, when you do a chip, it's very complex. And there are many simple ways by which you can have a mistake. And one engineer thinks that this signal should be positive, another engineer says this signal should be negative, and they forget to talk to each other, forget to document, and you have a mistake. So basically the process for making a chip was to design the chip, send it to a fab, they make the chip, and then 6 or 8 weeks later the chips come back, and you test it and say, oh no, there was a bug. And then, you go ahead and make another cut. And it comes back 6 weeks later, and this time it works. All in all, before you know it and you get the production. Oh, okay. So before you can finish it, it's basically 6 months from the day the chip was released to when you can get finished product out to the customer. 6 months. And every company was using it, same approach, TI, VLSI, Intel, WD, chips. They were all using the same approach for releasing a chip to the marketplace. 6 months, and that was going on for the last 20 years. So I went to my engineers and said, look, we have $1 million in the bank. And, if you give me a chip 6 months from now that works, by that time, everybody will have the chip. Intel will have it, chips will have it, everybody. So how am I going to compete with my chip versus their chip? Our cost is going to be same or higher than Intel and all that. They have their fab. And